Hey there, welcome back. Thought I would wear something green, my green shirt, since we just passed up St. Patrick's Day. Out of luck of the Irish lad. I don't think Patrick was Irish. I think he's from England. Anyway, this is another Comments Corner for 2015. And let's go ahead and pick the video why Windows users can't switch to Linux and see what's going on for your thoughts for that particular video for this year. And with that video, let's just say why some Windows users can't switch to Linux. Alright. Matu, hello there Matu. Mostly it's because of games and other software. And I replied, what other software though? Well, he says usually, or she, I'm not sure, usually other Windows software, Photoshop, Office, developer tools, tons of casual software. Of course, Linux has lots of programs for certain needs, but sometimes you just need something different. Okay. Let's see, and usually that is not something to solve easily as a Linux noob. I like Ubuntu. It has lots of stuff, but as I said, the main point why Linux isn't as successful as Windows is because of games. Alright, fair enough. Nuruddin Azmi. Hello, Nuruddin. Hope I said that right. Linux work for server, programmer, hacker, developer, etc. and no virus. And let's see what replies. I replied, hello Nuruddin, what's a virus? Oh yeah, I haven't got one of those in 7 years, at least none that affects my Windows system. He says, I never got it, but I got a virus in my Wine folder. You got a virus using Wine in Linux? Interesting. Open Shores, hello there. I'm a Windows user, but after using Linux Ubuntu 10.04, I am now a full-time Linux user. I reply, still using 10.04? Nope. 14.04 for Fedora, Arch, and Kali. Cool. Alright. Urudrim. Boy, these names are tough. Anyway, the real reasons why Windows users generally won't switch to Linux-based systems are economy, availability, and functionality. Don't know about economy and availability. Functionality, maybe. Linux offers nothing that Windows doesn't already deliver in a more advanced package. Windows most likely comes with any computer the user buys. True. The Windows user doesn't feel obligated to invest time in learning a new system. That is arguably a step back from Windows. That definitely can be argued. Any good GPL software that runs on Linux also runs on Windows. I reply, Google has the resources to change that with their own Linux computer. Alright, well here's another easy word. Forgive me if I say these wrong. Ikazuchi. Switching to Linux would be easy if Microsoft and other parasites would use open documented formats. You can't survive with only OpenOffice, LibreOffice in today's business world. Sure, you can try to run MS Office or other software through Wine, which in some instances is faster than native Windows. Who cares anyway? Well, I care. I couldn't get the software I needed running properly in Wine. I could sympathize with that. Or I might run Linux as my main OS. I run Windows mainly and SSH to my Linux boxes with less than 1 millisecond ping. Alright, it looks like you prefer to stick with your specific software for running in Windows, and that's fine. I replied, no parasites with Linux. This is from Hans Kamitz. Hello Hans, or Hannes. Why wouldn't a Win user change OS? It has to do with attitude and nothing else. I'm not so sure about that. I've been running Workbench 1.3.3.0.3.1, okay. Win 2K Pro Ubuntu for like 5 years, back to Win 7 at the moment, Win 8, and looking into Astro Distro. And let's see, I replied, only attitude? Yes, I do believe so. Jack Sparrow explains it so well. It's not the problem, that's the problem, but the attitude towards the problem. What I want to say is that if you look at OS, cars, hardware, etc., with small-minded attitude, you will never try something else just because what I use is the best and that's it. Attitude is certainly part of it, but there are also many choices as far as Linux distro to use. And for a beginner, they need to pick the right one. If they pick the wrong one, is that really an attitude problem or just making the wrong choice? This is from Sure. Feel you are polytropoi. Again, forgive me if I say these wrongs. Oh, why did I do this? All these names. But I love you guys. Not true. I play most games on my computer. I can't play Far Cry 3, 4, Watch Dogs, Elder Scrolls, online, so many games on Linux. Why would I want it? Wine does its best, but it can run mostly older games. Okay, getting back to the games, yes, Windows for now is still king when it comes to games, but that may change sometime in the future. Oh, an easy name. Nanotech 2080. Hey there. This is how I feel about these Linux distros and freedom. I'll try. I'm a try and put this into the Windows world. User comes in, installs Windows, removes some programs, installs other, mods the GUI, and changes the desktop background. Call it a new OS. That's pretty much how it is. It's the same old crap, just in a different box. Okay. Brandon Pennington. Oh, an easy name. Hello, Brandon. I believe many people don't switch to Linux based on the availability of third-party applications. Many developers do not develop programs for Linux. Not sure about that one. Linux operating systems do not have standalone executable files. Sometimes packages can be hard to install. And Ubuntu Software Center and adding sources to that is not very easy either. Sometimes. However, Ubuntu, although choppy, Linux Mint and Zorin OS tend to have interfaces that are user-friendly. Yes, they are, in some ways. If someone was to be a basic user who just browses the web, checks mail, music, then those may be suitable. I would agree with that. Alright, this is from, let's see, Apple Love TK. Hello, Apple Love TK. Honestly, it depends on how you define better. From my perspective, I could not go without Windows or Mac, primarily because of the vast applications that are supported and developed for the platform. Alright, that's a good answer. I've tried many Linux distros and actually like them quite a lot. But as a creative professional, it's kind of hard not to be able to use the latest Adobe products with native performance to play games and get decent performance without fiddling around to get things to work. It's true in Linux, sometimes you have to fiddle with things around. Let's see, what else? Yes, I've heard of the alternatives, but frankly they are not up to par. If you are working in an office environment, you will be required to know how to use industry standard software such as Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator. Okay, fair enough. You can't come in the office and shoot up GIMP thinking to get some real work done and then sending the files to employees to edit or open. Thank you for your reply here. Quite extensive, thank you. I would agree that sometimes you just have to use Windows for specific programs or apps. I have to use Windows as an example to keep my Microsoft Zune and Apple iPad mini running. So there you go. This is from Mr. Adimus. Okay, Ubuntu is an ancient African word meaning I can't install configure Debian. I didn't have a problem with that. Alright, let's do a few more and see what we have. Alright, here's an easy name. Richie Guppy. A good Linux OS is Debian XFCE, which works extremely well on my VirtualBox, which apparently makes the OS slower, but I don't notice. Yeah, generally speaking, running anything in a VirtualBox will be a little bit slower. Alright, this is from Mitchie22RSN. Hello there. You are using Linux every day on your Android phone when you write emails and play multiplayer games. That's true. Android is based on Linux. I think it's based on Gentoo. Let's see here. You are getting virus on your bulletproof OS. Some of the replies from Fostalog. I'm not screaming and writing in capitals. I don't know why. Do you use something about? Okay, we were kind of like bantering back and forth here. Let's see here. Let's move on. This is from VCX_VGG. Is that an NSA code? I would switch if I could configure how to get KVM pass-through to work so I can game without restarting. I love Linux, but gaming on Linux has always been a bleep shovel for me. Always? I'm sorry to hear that. It's getting better though. It is. It is. This is from David Ben Judah. Isn't that a character in the next Star Wars movie? Let me know when I can install Visual Studio, Office, and Photoshop on Linux and I'll consider it. Linux is good for hackers and people who can't afford quality computer software. Oh, that's mean, David. Well, I understand you need to use Windows for specific programs, and so do I, and that's fine. Alright, let's do a few more and let's wrap this up. B-Moon, hello. You have to spend thousands of hours on Linux just to install and configure. Not with all of Linux, but with some maybe. Win 7 works out of the box, but beyond OS you have to pay for everything. Well, for me, Win 7 worked out of the box and still does, and Windows 8.1 works for me also. So with that statement, yeah, I would say it's partially true. Alexis Raymond, hello Alexis. The most stable OS that can save your hustle is OpenSUSE 13.2, somehow friendly for newbies. I think I looked at 13.2 if I recall, and I think I liked it, so yeah. Alright, let's do one more. Stefan Mahir, implying Ubuntu users aren't dummies. I cracked the joke, only if they use Arch. I'm just kidding. Dummies is a word I use to describe someone who is new to Linux, who needs a little bit of help, maybe in the past went to some unfriendly forums. Part of the reason I created this channel was to help people who had a curiosity for Linux or technology in general and needed a starting point. So when I say, you know, Ubuntu for Dummies or something for dummies, it's a figure of speech, and I say that with all the friendship and respect that I can possibly give you. Dummies to me means someone who needs some help getting started as a beginner, because let's face it, even I started as a dummy. Alright, thank you. There are many, many more comments here on this topic. Thank you for all of your comments. Over the years, this has been quite an interesting video, over 2,000 comments, so thank you once again. Yeah, I'll keep doing these comments corner, maybe go back to this as time goes by on why at least some Windows users can't switch to Linux. I did, at least in a dual boot capacity. Of course, with Linux you have many, many choices. It's really up to you to decide which Linux distribution can work for you. Maybe you can replace everything that you have. Maybe. Alright, well that's it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. And as always, I will catch all of you sometime in your Linux future.